Welcome back. Very special guest we have on the show today, Dr. Max Zahir. He is the former head of pathology, in fact, at our hospital, Royal Inland Hospital, but he's joining us today on a very separate matter to talk about this book that he has published. It's called 1947, a memoir of Indian independence. Thank you for being here, Dr. Zahir.
Thank you for inviting me.
Let's talk a little bit about this book. This is a book that you have written from personal experiences that you witnessed during the time that India gained independence, 70 years ago.
That's right.
You had a very horrifying experience on a train with your family.
Absolutely.
Can you tell me about that?
Well, this was in August 23rd, 1947. And India had just been partitioned, and there were people dislocated. They were going from one side to the other, depending on your religion. And ours was a Muslim background, so we were caught on the wrong side of the border. So my father put us on a train. He didn't come himself because he was the doctor there, and hospital was full of wounded people. Mm-hmm. So he put my mother, my brother, and my two sisters on the train to Pakistan. Mm-hmm. But halfway to the Pakistan, the train was ambushed. And all the Muslims on the train, except for 4 of us, were killed right there.
You and your brother survived in your
My
family.
brother, me, my mother, and my one sister. My one sister was taken away. Unfortunately, she could not be saved in time, as I describe in this book, but we never found her again.
Is that right? I'm very sorry. Yeah. Your mother was spared as well.
My mother was okay. So my mother, me, my brother, and one sister, we were saved by a kind person who claimed that we were he knew us, that we were Hindus, and he knew us, and that we were safe. We should be allowed
Very lucky.
Go through. Yeah.
I understand 2 million people died in this fight.
Up to 2 million. Nobody knows because nobody counted the bodies. The law and order had so broken down that there was nobody else even to bury bodies. They lay there on the stations, on the roads, everywhere.
Why did you write this book? Do you feel that this piece of history hasn't been understood?
No, because I think different people are blaming different people for this. You know, nobody actually has admitted responsibility for it. And nobody has actually gone back and reviewed it. Neither Pakistan nor India has addressed the issue of who was responsible for those 2 million people died. Can you believe it? Nobody was ever charged. Nobody has ever admitted a responsibility for it. Mm-hmm.
For people who don't understand the history, and my understanding is quite limited, yours is better. India was under British rule.
Yes.
And then they separated, and then India separated into 2 separate countries, into Pakistan.
That's right.
Some were for it, and some were against it. And that's where all the bloodiness came from.
Exactly. Yes, that's right. It was entirely on religious basis. Mm-hmm. The problem was that as the people approached independence, the Muslims were a little concerned as a big minority. They wanted some special rights. It's a complicated story with all these negotiations going on. And eventually, the negotiations didn't come to anything. Negotiations broke down. And the Indian leaders, Hindus and Muslims, they could never agree on how they were going to accept the independence.
Right.
Yeah. Some wanted to keep the country as a whole. Others wanted it divided. But there was no unanimity. So Britain had decided to give the independence, come what may.
Yes.
And they did that. And they didn't organize the independence all that well either, but still, the primary responsibility were the Indian leaders. They couldn't take, there was no agreement between them.
Yes. Yeah. What are your memories? I understand you had to call on your brother to fill in some of the gaps for you. You were 10 years old on that train.
Yes. Well, my memory is suddenly the train being stopped, and the first thing we knew was somebody came into our compartment in the train and opened fire at us, point blank. And you can imagine from there, the pandemonium broke out. And then they asked all the Muslims to come down from the train on the platform to be killed. And there was no escape. There were close to 200 people, armed people, armed with swords and spears, who were all surrounding the train. So there was no possibility of escape. So it was really a miracle, if you believe in miracles, and that somebody at the right time recognized us. And he said, I'm going to try and save you.
Mm-hmm. You're very lucky. It's quite a story. Yeah. We are already out of time. Remember how I said how quickly it would go? We're done. Can you believe that?
Thank you.
Well, I wish we had more time to talk, but I want to mention to our viewers that Max Zahir, Dr. Zahir, will be at Chapters tomorrow at 1 o'clock to sign books and speak to people. And this is a great opportunity for people to come in and see you and learn a little bit more.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah, thank you for being here today.
Well, it's my honor.
Yes, and if you would like to get a hold of Dr. Zahir, he has kindly given out his email address. It's mzahir@shaw.ca. But again, tomorrow, Chapters, 1 o'clock, if you would like to meet. It is time for a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.